Hello once again, race fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Dropping the Hammer Racing Hour here on the Grueling Truth, where legends speak. I'm Alex Gray, along here with Michael Klein. Quite a lot of news to talk about today, especially with the certain issue going on right now. We'll get to that in a little bit. Obviously, we'll talk about the racing. We'll talk about Phoenix, among other bits of news that has taken place. Alrighty, so we're covering Phoenix. That's where we were last week. We'll talk about the Xfinity race, and then we'll talk about the NASCAR Cup Series as well. So once again, JGR's Xfinity program off to a incredible start. This time around, Brandon Jones getting the win for JGR at Phoenix, his second career Xfinity win. Harrison Burton scoring second after winning at Auto Club, followed by Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, and then Justin Haley, Chase Briscoe, Noah Gragson, Austin Cindric, Ross Chastain, Riley Herbst. Michael, what are your thoughts on the expectations of JGR's Xfinity program and just looking at how they performed so far into the early season?
Well, you got to put them up pretty high just because, you got Burton and Jones who are kind of lighting it up right now. Riley Herbst seems like he's kind of fallen behind on them. He's a rookie, so don't really surprise me. And honestly, I wouldn't say he's as talented as Burton or Jones. I'm not saying he's not talented, but when you look at the standings, you got Jones and Burton, who I believe are in the top 5, and you have Herbst, who's all the way back in 11th right now. But he definitely showed flashes of brilliance last week at Auto Club, so hopefully he can kind of start to gain ground with them.
Yeah, you look at Brandon Jones, especially last week at Auto Club. He started on the pole, swept the first 2 stages, and then he had a blown tire. If it weren't for that, he probably would have had a shot to win that race as well. It's obviously very early in the season, but would you say that perhaps any of these 3 drivers in JGR's camp are championship contenders?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so too. Harrison Burton has been lights out. I think Brandon Jones will be a driver to watch this season. I always felt like he was going to be like the lead driver at JGR because I just felt like, you know what, he could possibly have a breakout season. He's already won a race. He's in the playoffs, so I think certainly another win or 2 could be coming from Brandon Jones, which will be interesting to see. NASCAR Cup Series action. A lot of people really, really, really loved how this race went down and how the race did overall. Joey Logano already getting his second win of the season, holding off Kevin Harvick. Kyle Busch was 3rd, Kyle Larson 4th, Clint Bowyer with the top 5 and 5th. Then it's Kurt Busch, Chase Elliott, Eric Almirola, Cole Custer, and William Byron rounding out the top 10. So Cole Custer getting his first Cup top 10 as well. Overall, I thought this was an amazing race. There was great racing, great passing. The PJ1 they put down, I think, helped. If this is any indication of what the championship race is going to look like in November, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah. Big improvement from the last one.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed that race. A lot of people seem to have as well. Once again, I believe Phoenix actually beat out the NBA in terms of TV ratings as well. Yep. According to Adam Stern, Fox earned a 2.7 rating and 4.6 million viewers for the Cup race at Phoenix. It's off a 2.9 and a 4.8 million watching from last year's race. Still, the race was the most watched event last weekend, topping number 2, the Clippers and the Lakers, by 1 million, which was a big game, too. So,
yeah,
that's honestly a huge deal that NASCAR has outbeat the NBA 2 weeks in a row with their primetime slots. So that's obviously great news to hear. And perhaps maybe poor timing mentioning the NBA. We'll get to that. Let's see here. So, as you know, Homestead Miami was coming up in a couple weeks. Apparently, a rumor went around about the track getting sold, and it was going to be torn down for residentials, but the mayor of Homestead immediately shot it down, saying this track is not going anywhere. I don't know where this rumor came from, which is good news. I think a lot of people really like Homestead. I do worry the track might have lost its, how do I word this, pizzazz, not hosting the finale anymore. So, the internet's such an interesting place. What are your thoughts on those rumors?
Well, first off, you take a look at who was spreading them. The guy, I'm not going to say his name, but the guy is an idiot. I mean, he's known for doing this stuff. I wouldn't trust him to get my dry cleaning, much less than put a huge rumor about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like sometimes people just create that kind of stuff because what's the term that people use these days? Clout chasing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure he's trying to do that because, for anyone who doesn't know, like I said, I'm not going to say his name, but just so you know, he is a suspended crew member in NASCAR.
Gotcha. Yeah, we won't.
And he's actually kind of bragging about it if you go to his Twitter.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I can give his Twitter because he doesn't have his name on there. Go to Suspended Crew Chief on Twitter. That's the guy who's spreading them.
Alrighty. So, yeah, that was, the weird rumor of the week, I suppose. It kind of reminds me of a couple of years ago when you had the KBM to Cup rumors on Reddit. Some guy on Reddit started that rumor up, and that blew up overnight, was shot down once again the next morning, kind of came and went. But besides that, that was, once again, Homestead Miami Speedway is not going anywhere, regardless. That's not going anywhere. Let's see. What else was I going to report? Cliff Boyer's going to test the next-gen car. And actually, a friend of mine pulled something interesting from listening to the Rubbin' is Racing podcast he's on with Barstool. Boyer made this quote, testing the next-gen car is like the short straw. Testing sucks. We aren't paid. And I don't even know if I'm driving it next season since I don't have a contract. I wish Byron wrecked the car good enough. I wouldn't have to. But I got news they got it fixed, and I'm still on. Yeah, I think William Byron made some interesting quotes on the testing the next-gen car, if I could pull it up, because I remember reading it somewhere. But interesting developments for sure. There's also some heat. The NASCAR Twitter World War III, whatever, is still continuing apparently, under the likes of, and it looks like Angela and Mike Rutch. That situation going on there. We'll get to that in a moment. I also wanted to say that Ryan Newman had his first interview yesterday since his Daytona 500 crash. Newman basically talking about how thankful he was that he's okay. He even mentioned that he apparently got hit more on the seat in his interview. In terms of detail, in terms of details of his injuries, it was said that he had a bruised brain, which is normal as part of a concussion. There is no timetable set for a return, but Newman has said that he does want to return at some point.
Yeah, and that, just because I've had concussions before, that's all just part of concussion protocol. So it'll probably be a little while before we see him back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, remember back in 2016 when Dale Earnhardt Jr. sat out the entire second half of the season because of the concussions that he had.
Yeah, fortunately with me, I've only ever had to sit out a couple weeks due to a concussion. I've only had a couple of them. But, it's when you have something like that happen, I'm sure they're going to put it on the back burner for a while.
Yeah. I finally pulled up something someone sent me that what William Byron talked about the next gen car. NASCAR ended it because there have been talks that he had supposedly wrecked the next gen car in testing. NASCAR indicated Byron's wreck was hard enough to call it a day, which is true, but Corey LaJoie said on his Sunday Money podcast the crash of the only existing third version of the car has been underplayed. He cited people who told him Byron called it the hardest hit of his career. So is that true, William? Byron acknowledged, quote, "It was one of the hardest hits." Yeah. You're just not expecting it to step out of the way I did. Or it did, excuse me. It was just a different feel with what we have now. Byron explained the amounts he got loose in the next-gen crash would probably happen to drivers 30 times in a weekend with the current car. He found it puzzling to lose control. He also said that I haven't really spun out like that ever. It was different. It wasn't like I was driving super hard or anything like that. It should be hard to drive when you're racing, guys, not when you're just making laps at 80% at a test. Quickly adding, but I know it's a far from finished product, which is also interesting or important to know that this is still, something in the making.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely an interesting take. I wanted to bring that up real quick with the next gen car. So, any thoughts on that at all?
No, I pretty much covered it. And by the way, I do just want to say congrats to Corey LaJoie. He's become a good friend of mine over the past few months. And for anyone who saw, he and his wife had their child last night. Gave birth to a healthy baby girl. So I want to say congrats to them.
I did hear about that. A big congrats to Corey LaJoie and his wife on their brand new child. I think that's awesome. Let's see. Okay. I don't know if there's anything else next to cover. We will preview Atlanta. We'll go ahead and discuss this real quick. This has affected the entire sports world. I've never thought I'd see anything like this. You all are aware the coronavirus is now a pandemic, according to the World Health Organization. And a chain of events has occurred really over the past 24 to 36 hours. The NBA suspended their entire season, suspended their current season because Rudy Gobert decided to touch some microphones and got sick from it. The NCAA tournament will be played without any fans in attendance. I actually have credentials to the games in St. Louis next week, so that's going to be really eerie to watch. What else? The NHL looks like they might be suspending the season. The MLB just stopped spring training. The NHRA just postponed their events. The IMSA event at Sebring has been postponed. The World of Outlaws has suspended their season. So many actions are being made, which I really hate seeing it, but to be fairly honest here, it is probably for the best to make sure that this doesn't spread, that things don't get worse. Some states have even banned mass gatherings for the time being, including massive sporting events. Miami-Dade County came out and said that the Homestead Miami race will have to be postponed, which is why I said earlier was coming up in a couple weeks. There hasn't been a complete 100% official word from NASCAR. Adam Stern made a post. We were supposed to get news like 30 minutes ago, but the only thing we've got is that NASCAR is expected to run without spectators and fans at Atlanta and Homestead due to the coronavirus, according to people informed of the plan. We do not have a complete official word yet on what's happening. Either we'll break it to you now, or it'll probably broke after our show is done recording here.
Yeah, and by the way, just to touch on what you said earlier, ESPN is reporting that the NHL is officially suspending the rest of the season for now.
All right. Thank you for informing me on that. I was hoping to see the Blues win a second Stanley Cup, but again, you have to do what you have to do in this situation. So,
yeah. And still no word on the Formula One event yet. It's still kind of going everywhere. That one, too.
I think McLaren announced that they're not going to attend the Australian Grand Prix.
Yeah, they did. They're not going to. So if they do get to the grid this week, it will be without McLaren, which would be absolutely astounding because I don't think Formula One race has been run without McLaren since probably the 60s.
Yeah.
And that's just crazy to think about.
Yeah. And here, I just got the tweet. MLB suspending operations indefinitely due to the coronavirus situation happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, NASCAR has officially released a statement. NASCAR will hold its events at Atlanta and Homestead without fans in attendance. These events will be restricted to competitors, crews, officials, and other necessary personnel to conduct the race. So both races are going to go on with no fans in attendance.
Okay. So obviously it's going to suck to see that that there won't be any more fans in attendance, but sometimes you got to think of the positives. NASCAR's still running. That's a good sign. NASCAR's still going because the MLB, the NBA, the NHL, they're not. So let's be thankful that NASCAR is still going to hold their events. It does suck that there won't be any fans in attendance, but again, mass gatherings, large people, we don't want the virus to spread. So I think that's very important. It's very important during a time like this just to stay calm, go on with your life, improvise, adapt, overcome, as my dad always tells me. And hopefully this thing will calm down in the next month or so. One can hope anyway. This is certainly one of the we thought the old Ebola was bad a few years back. We thought the swine flu was bad about 10 years ago, but this is...
That was nothing compared to what we're dealing with now.
What's that?
It's nothing compared to what we were dealing with now.
Yeah. This is a pandemic, according to the World Health Organization.
And it really sucks to the fans who are going to be there, too, Yeah. They all made their plans around that. And now they have to change them, but, what else can you do? Unfortunately, I would say this was the right call, but, none of the calls they could have made were going to be good calls. They could only make the right one.
Yeah, I mean, NASCAR just came out and said we're postponing the season or suspending the season. But, no, they're still going to keep going. And hopefully no one contracts it, or else they may have to. But still, I think it's important that look on the bright side. I hate it for the fans that we're going to go. It sucks. But on the bright side, we're still racing. So we will preview Atlanta here shortly because of that. It's going to be weird seeing no fans in attendance. But, again, it's got to be done. You got to take the extra precautions to make sure this doesn't spread more and more.
Yeah, it also just sucks that, those tracks only have one day a year, so some of those people, this might be the only race they can get to each year, and now they're not going to be able to. So, it's just really a really shitty situation. There's no real good answer to it. NASCAR can only do, the next right thing, I guess, which unfortunately probably is to limit the access to necessary personnel.
Yeah. So, again, it's got to be done. So we're hopeful that within the next couple of weeks, fans can start coming back in attendance, and we can kind of go back to our normal status quo. In the meantime, it's a very, very common sense thing. Wash your hands. Make sure to avoid touching your face at all and stuff like that. That's really all else I can say about this situation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Racing is racing. Anyway, with that news out of the way, first off, Michael, before we preview Atlanta, do you have anything involving your racing that's going on for you right now? Because I know you just ran in the Shamrock Classic.
Yeah. We're looking for more funding to add some races on. We got a couple months until the next one. Season kind of dies down after this March event. I think our next one is the Badger event at Angel Park, which would be incredible because Angel Park is a track I've always wanted to run at. And hopefully with this USAC experience now, that'll help me, go into race with some of the more local guys. And like I said, we're still looking for funding. This past weekend, I think, went pretty well. Kept it pretty clean. Wasn't caught up in anybody's mess. I feel like we learned a lot about running with these guys. That's really all I got to say. New suit arrived yesterday. I'm loving that. Huge thanks to K1 and Swindell Speed Lab for doing an absolutely killer job on it. I can't wait to represent it at the next race.
Awesome. That's great to hear. That's really good news to hear. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next in your racing career, man.
Oh, yeah. And we might have a big announcement coming here pretty soon. Not going to leak it right now. I'll definitely keep everybody here updated for when we do make that.
All righty. Be sure to check them out on Twitter, and obviously we'll talk about that when the time comes on our show as well. So some notable entries for Atlanta. Ross Chastain in Cup Series, 38 cars are entered. Ross Chastain will once again be filling in for Ryan Newman. Xfinity, Mike Snyder will be in the 21 for Richard Childress. Jeffrey Earnhardt is going to make his first start of the year with JD Motorsports in the 15. Truck Series, 38 trucks are entered. 32 will qualify. And those who will attempt the $100,000 bounty placed against Kyle Busch by Kevin Harvick and the CEO of Gander Outdoors, Marcus Lemonis. Chase Elliott, hometown kid, will enter GMS's number 24 Chevrolet. John Hunter Nemechek is entered for Nemco's number 8. Brendan Poole is entered on Point Motorsports' number 29. If any of the drivers are able to finish ahead of Kyle Busch, they will claim the bounty. None of them do. Kyle Larson and Eric Jones will get a shot at the $100,000 next weekend at Homestead, although they said they postponed it. Ryan Truex also entering the race for Nice Motorsports in the 40. And this race last year was won by Johnny Sauter. All right, so we got 3 races this week in the preview. The Truck Series, of course, Kyle Busch is entered. So is Chase Elliott. I definitely have to list those two as favorites. What about you?
Obviously, yeah, I do. Obviously, very hard to beat Kyle Busch whenever he's running this. Also definitely want to see one of the bounty drivers get up there, though. I'd love to see Chase Elliott, claim that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I still got to pull for my boy Ben. I guess my K1 race gear teammate now. Definitely have to pull for him, and it's a 1.5-mile track. It seems to be where he excels at.
All right. Yeah, I think Ben Rhodes could be a good pick, too. I think he'll have a win coming here very soon. So I think those are 3 pretty good picks for Atlanta. Once again, Kyle Busch did win this race last year, on my correction there, over Johnny Sauter and Grant Enfinger. Moving on to NASCAR Xfinity action. This race was won by Christopher Bell last year. Of those who I think will win this race, I think you're definitely going to have to throw Brandon Jones and Harrison Burton into the mix now. Obviously, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, kind of your usual suspects.
Yep. I
think that's a pretty fair assessment to make. And then the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 in Atlanta. Hopefully we'll have good weather because it's weird because it's been the second race of the year the past several years. Brad Keselowski won this race last season over Martin Truex Jr. and Kurt Busch. Let's see. I'm gonna throw Ryan Blaney back into the mix because I think he'll have a win coming soon. He's been off to a good start, could be better. Obviously, he's had a little bad luck run his way, but I think Blaney will certainly be in the picture for this one. I'd throw in Kevin Harvick again. I would say you could throw in a JGR guy, maybe Truex or Busch.
Yeah. Also probably would go with Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson.
Yeah,
definitely. If you were to ask me, it seems like they're pretty strong here. Yeah.
I think Elliott and Larson are going to be dual threats as well. I know Larson came pretty close to winning this race last year, if I'm correct. And, of course, Elliott's so obviously that would be a huge deal if Chase Elliott could win at his home track at Atlanta and the siren could sound off in Dawsonville. And I think I forgot to cover ARCA because ARCA ran at Phoenix last weekend. Ty Gibbs winning the race at Phoenix.
Are you watching the same race I was? Because I'm pretty sure Chandler Smith won it.
I probably got it all mixed up. All right, call Alex an idiot. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I mean, Ty Gibbs absolutely dominated it. So, and, he kind of got screwed out of the win, it seems like. So,
no, we all make mistakes. So, I apologize for that. Congrats to Chandler Smith. I think Michael Self still has the points lead. I think Haley Deegan was second. At least I got that part right. Feel free to pick on me for that. People ever tell me what's wrong with you, but anyway.
Oh, we will.
For some reason, I thought Ty Gibbs won. But anyway, okay. Anything else left to cover?
Yeah, I think you said we were going to talk about this, but I don't think we ever did. Mike Ruck and Angela Ruck.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I guess Ruck Life decided it would be wise to give Mike Ruck his own Twitter account, and he has not been using it very wisely for anyone who follows it.
Yeah, I think Mike Ruck just made a tweet out to Barstool not too long ago.
Really, what did it say?
Let me find it here. He made
and this year was really, inexcusable on his part, if you ask me. Someone said if you put Delana Harvick in the truck, she'll win. And Mike Ruck actually responded with there are weight rules. So, yeah, he's making a stab at her weight. I don't even get. So, I don't, that can tell you the kind of people they are, I guess.
Yeah, it is pretty rude. I'm going to quote this. Hey, Dip, redacted, Stool President Dave Portnoy, you may take pride in your edited podcast where you leave out what you don't want and try and act all cool because you're a chump that got rich real quick, but deep down you know that we know you're a clown emoji, tagging Angela Rush for Sports and Robbins Racing. Okay.
Wow.
This was made just a few hours ago.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
man, you're going after one of the more popular people and media personalities in racing now.
Yeah. All I can do is shake my head. I don't know what else really to say about this.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so once again, Twitter being Twitter as always. Oh, goodness. Besides that, I think that about covers it. So even though you can't go to the races, please tune into the races and watch them. let's all capitalize on an unfortunate situation. Maybe our TV ratings can skyrocket. That's another positive. Perhaps TV ratings will skyrocket a bit more. Besides that, I wish everyone to stay safe, stay clean, take the necessary precautions that you need to take to avoid the coronavirus. And besides that, we're going to wrap up the show here. We'll be back on again next week to talk about Atlanta and preview Homestead, or maybe. I got kind of confused because at first it was announced that Homestead was going to postpone, but now they're saying that Homestead's going to be ran without fans in attendance. So I'm going to go ahead and say.
Yeah, well, I think what happened was the mayor said it was going to be postponed, but then he said NASCAR had the choice to postpone it or run it without fans because they just banned large public gatherings.
Okay. All right, I see it now. Okay, yeah, Atlanta and then Homestead. A little Southwest sweep there for 2 weekends there. Okay. Again, I apologize for the ARCA mistake. I don't know what is wrong with me. But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for listening again to this weekly edition of the Dropping the Hammer Racing Hour. We'll be back once again next week to cover more NASCAR stuff from Michael Klein and myself, Alex Gray. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys next time.